Hi there, nice to see you this Tuesday morning. Now imagine this, it's tough enough, isn't it, as a parent if you find out your child is ill, but imagine the frustration of never finding out exactly what's wrong.
Not having a diagnosis can increase the stress for families and often means getting help can be a lot harder. Here's one family's story.
We don't know if he's going to be able to walk, we don't know whether he's going to be able to talk. We worry about what facilities are going to be available to him, especially starting school. We've been advised that we need one-to-one care with him, but we don't know if that sort of availability will be there when he goes to school.
Eden McDowell was born a year ago with multiple health issues and has to be fed by a tube into his stomach. Despite test after test, doctors still can't pin down what's causing his problems. On top of the stress this obviously causes the whole family, not having a diagnosis affects their lives on a daily basis.
It's estimated there's probably about 30 to 50% of children with learning disabilities that don't have a diagnosis. And these families can feel incredibly isolated and struggle to access support. So our main aim is just to bring them together into a community that understands what they're going through and try and make life a bit easier for them.
The obvious problem with not having a diagnosis is that we don't really know where his health's going and where his healthcare can go. The doctors are able to find individual symptoms, but they've not been able to look at the big picture at the moment. It's just like a jigsaw puzzle for them. Eden requires 24/7 care, which we have been doing ourselves. We have requested respite care, but without a diagnosis it's been harder for the services to push through that we have a child that needs these extra services. What we'd like people to understand is there are a lot of children in this country that are undiagnosed. They do have health issues that might not be obvious to the outside. And the thing is, they're not going to grow out of it, they're going to be with them for life, and it's people understanding and not judging what these children are.
Intriguing.
Intriguing,
How
yeah.
common is that?
It's pretty common. Children with developmental problems, it's estimated that 30 to 50% of them have some sort of syndrome which is undiagnosed, unrecognised, which would explain the problem. And right now the Sanger Institute in Cambridge has got a research team that over the next few years will be looking at 12,000 children that haven't been diagnosed but clearly have multiple organ problems. Could affect the eyes, could affect the bones, could affect the lungs, the heart. And doctors are sometimes baffled as to what the cause of the condition is. Often it'll be genetic, and we can look at the chromosomes, but until we understand what every single gene in the human body does, we won't be able to identify where the problem is.
It's frustrating for the parents, and they must feel slightly embarrassed that, you know, they don't know.
Absolutely. You know, they go from pillar to post. They go to the GP. GP can't find anything. Eventually, they go to the specialist. The specialist can't recognise this syndrome either. Then they'll go to another specialist centre, and they are passed from one doctor to the next. Incredibly frustrating for the parents who are looking for a solution. And until you've got a diagnosis, you don't know what to treat. And that's the problem. And then there's the stigmatisation that goes with that. So there's something wrong with your child, but you don't know what it is, we don't know how to treat them. There's a problem with getting social benefits and care and treatments, yeah.
Is the problem as well, though, that not all problems are symptoms of a simple thing? They might just be a collection of problems and you're trying to draw dots where a pattern can't be found.
Absolutely. Well, you know, there are many diseases where there's perhaps only 50 people in the whole world who have that particular condition, so you'd need a super specialist to recognise what that condition is, and trying to link and pair the specialist with that child is very difficult to do and takes a long time.
And is there a danger that in their understandable desperation some of these families might go to a source that is possibly not the most reliable, and a form of treatment that isn't necessarily the right one?
Well, if nothing else, what they're looking for is empathy and kindness and gentleness.
If that sense that someone else is in my boat, so important.
Absolutely, and that's fine, provided the treatment isn't going to cost them vast sums of money and it's unproven and untried and untested, and they are exploited. So it's important that you go down the right routes. I mean, complementary therapy can be very useful when orthodox medicine lets you down, but you still have to be careful, you know, go to the right people. And that's why this new charity called SWAN, which looks after and investigates these children who have no diagnosis, is very important, so they can come together, share their experiences and look into research for the future. I'm going to tell you now. I thought you'd ask me that, and if that's early in the morning, I've completely forgotten.
Syndromes without a diagnosis.
That's the one.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a mnemonic.
Sorry, Bob,
Yeah, absolutely. Syndromes without
Syndrome
a name.
without a name, I think
Yes,
it is actually.
SWAN.
Otherwise it will be SWAD. We're getting ourselves
Yes.
very confused.
We
All
will
right,
be.
all right,
We
Hilary,
will be.
thanks very much. Very interesting.
Pleasure.
And if you can hear more about undiagnosed conditions across ITV News today, because Lawrence McGinty will be reporting on that new project, which hopes to assess the genes of hundreds of children to help benefit those without a diagnosis. And I guess your advice would be go and talk to them if you're one of those, and
Absolutely,
get some help.
absolutely. And if nothing else, get a note from your GP saying that this child has a syndrome as yet unrecognised, but needs all the help they can get. So here's the letter, and you can give that to whichever doctor you see.